Nobody wants to go through pain. But when you go through it, it makes you somehow a better person to grow and to be ready for the next challenge or whatever comes next. It cost me a lot. I didn't have a place to stay. I was jumping from one place to another. I was getting kicked out from places.
You're going to become an Adobe Lightroom photographer. Similar that globally, when we open Adobe Lightroom, we see your pictures.
My journey started because I needed to find meaning, not because I want money. My friend got a camera. When I held this camera, I felt something, like there was something in there. I was like, this is better than my phone. From that point, I've always said, I need to get myself one. I did the most unthinkable thing. I knew very well my mom couldn't afford it because it was very expensive. So when I got my school fees from my mom, I remember that day I held the money. I laid down for a second. I was looking at the ceiling, the money counting it. And I'm like, if I take these fees and I pay to the school, it takes me through one semester. Then what next? So I got the camera. I happened to come across Agora Award. I received this email saying that my picture has been selected as top 50 out of 130,000 submissions from 100 and something countries. And from top 50, went to top 3. And from top 3, went to top 1. For the first time, I finally knew what it felt like to win. The next day, we went back and we created Songs of Freedom. That moment, I couldn't think. Dropped my camera. I sat down to say a quick prayer. And then the next moment, they call me and they tell me that she's dead. If my dad's passing gave me meaning, my mom's passing broke me.
Hello. So the conversation about to listen to is with Michael Aboya. What a story. So Michael is a photographer. He is known for his work, Songs of Freedom, that won the Agora Award in like 2019. From there, Michael has become this global photography icon. He was the ambassador for Adobe Lightroom and been an ambassador for Adobe. Michael is doing great work photography-wise with like great institutions, global institutions, and he gave us an exclusive on his story. And for me, the story is hinged on the play between pain, suffering, and happiness, and the pursuit of meaning. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And if you're new here, just subscribe. Thank you.
I can't really give a number, but sometimes I wouldn't hold my camera for like a week. And then I start having nightmares.
Do you think, it's heavily psychological. It's like an indicator for you on your GPS to show that you're going off track. Do you think that's do you like it that way?
An indicator that I'm going off track. I think sometimes it can be good, sometimes it's bad. Good in the sense that it's good to have that feeling.
Yeah.
Wakes you up, puts you on your feet and stuff like that. But sometimes it gets bad that you actually forget what's in front of you. And when I say in front of you, your family, your health, like people you really care about. You need time to spend with those people.
Yeah.
I think this is what makes you actually complete as a person. It's not always about what you do,
Work.
but who you are. And focusing and finding balance between all of that makes the whole feeling of being alive complete.
Yeah.
So if you spend more time on your work and you ignore the other, there's that feeling too. So I guess I missed out the part where if I spend too much time
on your work too.
working, there's this guilt that, I haven't spent time with myself.
Yeah.
That movie I said I wanted to watch, I haven't done that. This, that. So then I like, okay, it's time to put the camera down.
Yeah.
And then I put it down. And
It's good.
then I spend too much time on myself. Then I start feeling like I'm getting lost. So it's a healthy balance between
Checks
back.
and balance.
Yeah.
There's a democracy in your soul.
Yeah.
Cool. Yo, are you ready? Very good. Interesting. I think first of all, I'd like to thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me too.
Yeah, very. Remember that very morning we met, I was telling Sepering that the conversation was very impactful. Before he called you, he and I were catching up on some other things, and we started talking about from business to life, and generally, I think that conversation was heavily centered on religion, talking about theology and God and what our views on God was. And at some point in the conversation, he was like, "Oh, Bill, I think you should speak to Aboya. He has like a great story. I know him." And he had mentioned it prior, and he mentioned it again. Like, he's gonna give you a call. He calls you. Funny enough, you're like 5 minutes away in the area.
I think that was actually pretty weird.
Yeah.
People didn't call me, and then I'm like around. So for a moment, I felt that he's seen me somewhere, and I was going to. There was a graduation happening, actually, a photography graduation.
Okay.
And I had to present the certificates. So I did that quickly, and then I left. Then I was,
And when you came, maybe spoke about your story a little, what things you've done, but there's a particular part of the conversation where we're talking about pain and joy, and like your life as a photographer. You get to see these things through people's lens, but then you have intentionally decided that you're going to focus on joy because pain is easy to come by. I think I've been thinking about that since that morning. Is this true that it's easy to find pain in the world? So what makes how is this young man viewing life? Because for me, I think that joy is like a relatively easier thing to see than pain, or maybe because of how I've intentionally conditioned my mind that I'll not pay attention to the pain. It's part of it, and hello, friends. So super excited that you tuned in again. It's been exactly a year since we started airing the Peswa Podcast, and as a team, we've made a commitment to get better with each episode, and we take feedback seriously, and we try to bring you the excellent content. And so one way to appreciate that for us as a community is that we've decided that our targets by the end of the year is to reach 10,000 subscribers. That seems very far-fetched, given that we're about a month away from the ending of the year, but we believe the community we have. So let's rally together, lend us a subscription you haven't, with a guarantee that this will only get better. So as our mantra, it means just build something.
For me, growing up and the life and the paths that I've found myself on, I think pain is actually much easier to support in from my perspective. And having to experience visiting other parts of the world and then coming back home, I think from what I've experienced and what I've seen, for me, pain is more easier to support. And for some strange reason, which I still don't know, when it has to do with the continent, Africa, people like to share like that painful part, that pain story, because for some reason it sells more. It draws people in more. And all that stuff. And but it's not like I made a deliberate decision to focus on happiness. It's more because I've also gone through pain, especially with losing my dad, losing my mom. It kind of like woke this whole thing. Like I became more conscious of my mortality. I don't know why, for some reason, I never used to think about that at first, right? When you see someone die, it's mostly in the movies, or you hear someone say, "Oh, I lost a close friend," or "I lost a family member," but you don't really know what that feels like until it happens to you. So I think when that happened to me, I became very conscious of my mortality. Then I realized that, man, all these people are dying. You die too. Like, if you're alive, you die. So I started asking myself more important questions. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? How do you want to live it? And all that stuff. And I think the most important one that I've always asked myself is, how do people actually deal with pain? Like, when you're going through something, how do you find the moment to smile? How do you find moments in that pain to love someone or to sit down for a moment and think clearly? And when it comes to religion, people are going through pain, but they still believe in God. And there are other people who don't believe anymore, but they still find a way to find meaning and purpose. How are they doing stuff like that? if you focus too much on the happiness, there's not much question to ask. You just live life as it comes.
Yeah, it's true.
But when there's pain, you ask questions. And I think that those questions is what leads you on a certain path and gives you meaning.
Yeah. I think for me, I was saying the reason why I think it's the more difficult to spot pain compared to happiness is that we are in an age where everybody has a mask on. And it's very obvious on like social media. Everybody trying to put up the mountaintop part of their lives. And it makes it difficult to spot pain.
I wouldn't really say it makes it difficult. That's what makes it actually
Easier.
Yeah. When you see someone going through, well, maybe not you, me. When I see someone that's not genuinely themselves, I guess maybe through photography has helped me see beyond, not just with my eyes,
Yeah.
but with emotions and reading people's facial expression
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I can be somewhere, people are dancing and all that stuff, but I know that when this person leaves here and goes to a place where they can actually be themselves, there's something else lingering like in
Their
them.
mind.
Yeah. Something else they have to handle, but
Yeah.
they're taking that brief moment of dancing and being in the moment to feel some form of freedom.
Yeah. Life is interesting because I think it's predominantly more of suffering than happiness. And then the last on that conversation that morning, all three of us, we agreed that the failures and the pain and the suffering is actually more beneficial than the joy and the happiness. And that pain and suffering has a way of making you better, making you, like, it has a way of unearthing you as a person. And I was telling how Cyprian was talking about how failure is more important than success, and that you learn better when you fail at things, and you become a better person when you fail at things. So anyway, let's go on to grief has a way of changing people. This whole pain conversation. I've witnessed like a close friend of mine who lost her dad. When I met her, she was a kind of person. After she lost her dad, completely changed. Became a completely different person. And I take it that's your story. You decide to take this journey of photography now, and I'm doing global projects, Adobe Lightroom. You have your works on, but it all started from a place of grief.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on that?
If I had the chance, if I had the opportunity, I wouldn't really if you ask me, I would say I prefer that my journey started at a place of happiness, because it does happen for some people,
Okay.
right? They don't go through any pain or difficult times. They just have like, oh, I want to be this, and then they go after it. Sometimes they get some support from family and some people, but mine started from pain. In the beginning, I didn't really see the vision that this is where I was heading, but I kept asking, why me? Because I didn't really want to go through that pain of losing someone that was really close to me.
Who was that?
My dad.
Okay, what happened?
My dad had cancer,
Okay.
and it was a very, very emotional one, because it's almost like he knew he was going to pass away. So he made requests like, record me, my last words, so I can say certain things. And then he would say, take care of the family and all that stuff. So he's saying those things, it really didn't hit me at that point, right? Because now this is not possible. It's not, I am recording, but then it still hasn't hit me that he's going to actually pass away. My dad passed away in a church, by the way.
No, in the hospital?
No. Okay, in the church hospital.
Okay.
But it's in church premises. And when this happened, I was completely silent. When he passed away, they didn't actually tell me that he passed away, because I was standing there. The pastor came, he poured anointing oil, and when the drop touched his head, he stops struggling. And I found that quite weird. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I thought maybe I've just witnessed a miracle, because when they pray, then they are healed. And because he was going through so much pain, he went through a whole process of chemotherapy. So he's lost a lot of weight, his hair, and he was always complaining about pain on his left side. So when this happened, he wasn't going through pain anymore. Like, he's just completely went still. This was the moment he passed away. The next thing that happened is they moved me to a different room, and then they had to call a family friend, because I was the only one there at the moment. And they broke the news to me. I didn't know how to express myself. I couldn't cry. I don't know. It was just blank. For the first time in my life, I felt something like real. We've been happy before. We felt different emotions, but this emotion was very different. I don't know how to explain it, but that was the defining moment. And then the next moment, I stepped out and I see my dad. They've placed him in a body bag with a tag, like right there with his name on it. And this moment made me realize that, oh shit, we're all going to die. Right? Like, you can live a long time, but at one point you face it. We'll get to a point where it's like your last. We don't know when, but it will happen. So this started to do a lot in my mind. I started to restructure, and I think it made me a completely different new person. And it took a while, because I started to disconnect. I was no longer talking to like certain friends, or almost all friends. I just vanished off the grid. And my mom didn't know where I was. My brothers, they would know once in a while, but I was always moving from one place to another, trying to find meaning. And I found meaning in music. When I listen to music, there's this calm. And the last gift my dad gave me was a guitar.
Oh.
Yeah. That was actually strange, because I wouldn't really say my dad wasn't the gift type, but it was a once in a while thing. And out of nowhere, my dad brought a guitar, and it's like, yeah, and got me enrolled me into, wouldn't really say he enrolled, but he got someone to come over to the house to teach me how to play. So this was the last gift he gave me. And some way, somehow, music was helping me process my emotions. So I felt maybe I should do something in music. So I was taking guitar playing more seriously and all that stuff. This was before I got myself a camera.
Okay.
But one thing I was doing on the side is I was always taking pictures without realizing, but I was pouring my emotion into every frame, how I felt. So when I listened to music, I felt a certain type of way, then I take a picture on the phone. But I wasn't really paying attention to it, because the music was helping. But I have the worst singing voice, so I didn't even try like singing whatsoever. Yeah. I would just play, and it was helping me. Until one specific moment, my friend got a camera, because he was trying to get into be a tour guide. So when people come into the country, he would take them around, and he would have this small camera to kind of like document the process and post them online. When I held this camera, I felt something, like there was something in there. I was like, oh, this is better than my phone. The phone was doing it for me, but I felt like there was more control with the camera. And from that point, I've always said, oh, I need to get myself one. And I did the most unthinkable thing, because I was studying computer science at the time.
Where?
In J-Prompt.
Okay.
Along the Ring Road.
Okay.
Somewhere there. And
wait, I know you are Nigerian.
Half.
Half, okay.
I won't say half. I don't know if that's a thing. But I have a Nigerian side and a Ghanaian side. My mom is Nigerian. Okay. My dad is Ghanaian. My dad's from Bolga, Tanga. and my mom's from Nigeria, Akwa Ibom.
Okay. So what point did you guys move to Ghana?
When I was 13,
Oh, okay. Okay.
we moved. My dad came back home with my junior brother, and I came with my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you said you're studying computer science at what?
J-Prompt.
J-Prompt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was actually good at it because in the family, I was the most tech-oriented person. So when anyone buys the new phone, they bring it to me to set it up or whatever it is. But there's also a downside to it. If anything that has to do with electronics got damaged, they blame me for it. You did it. You experimented too much. Blah blah blah. So I needed to get a camera. I knew very well my mom couldn't afford it because it was very expensive, and I felt it wasn't the right time to start asking people that I needed a camera and all that. So when I got my school fees from my mom, not necessarily my mom, because the church at the time was taking care of it, so they would give it to my mom. My mom would give it to me to go and pay.
This is the same church your dad died at?
Yeah. When it got to me, I remember that day I held the money. I sat down in this room. I laid down for a second. I was looking at the ceiling, the money, counting it. And I'm like, if I take these fees and I pay to the school, it takes me through one semester. Then what next, right? Because, yes, the church was taking care of it, but they did say, let me not go to that side. But I knew that my mom could not afford the next. So I'm like, if I'm going to get myself a camera, this is it. So I got the camera. I went to Circle. There's this shop somewhere there. I still remember the place. I got myself a camera and a zoom lens, 70 to 200. It's pretty basic, not the expensive one we know. I don't know if it's 70 to 200, but I think it's maybe 70 to 105 or something like this. I got that and I was so happy. And the plan was that I was going to learn and then make some money and pay off my fees. This was the plan. But when I got into the field and the real world, I realized that plan wasn't going to work because it was hard to get people to photograph. I didn't have a portfolio. I didn't have things to actually show that I'm good at. And I wasn't good at it because all that mattered to me was expressing myself. So how to actually photograph someone, how to edit, I had no idea. So that wasn't working. I couldn't further. I had to drop out and focus entirely on photography. My mom wasn't happy about it. She was crying at some point. And that was enough for me to be like, okay, let me sell this camera and go back to school. But deep down, I felt I was on the right path because it felt, I don't know how to explain it, but it felt good. This is where you have to stay on it. So I just went with my intuition, went with that feeling, and just continued taking pictures and taking.
Which year was this when you got your camera? Which year was this?
This was 2016.
How many years after your dad had passed? How long was it?
Just a few months.
A few months.
Yeah. My dad passed in 23rd of August 2016. And in December, I got myself a camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that room when you had received the money. You were counting the money, right? What indicator did you have? Because on the inside, that made you feel like you should make this move with this money. Because clearly, I'm sure the church had made its stance that they can afford to a certain point, and like you said, that your mother couldn't afford the next school fees.
Yeah.
Your dad had given you the instruction to take care of the family.
Yeah.
You have siblings who look up to you as the older brother. You're in university, and then you make that bet. You know, like what was going through your mind, if you can remember, at that time?
That's why I honestly speaking, whatever that was, I'm entirely grateful. I just don't know what it was, but it's just this whole feeling of, you are entirely lost. The person that has most of the questions, right? My mom, she has questions, like she has answers to some of my questions, but I felt my dad had most of them. He's no longer here. You're 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 lost for real, and this was me just trying to figure something out. Even if I mess up, you you did it to yourself. You have no one to blame.
Yes.
So I laid my options, and for some strange reason, this one just stood out to me. And to be honest, I've always been the person that loved to like get off track. My dad didn't like that about me. I remember one time I'd originally already dropped out, and all my mates had graduated. My dad came back from the US. He was a pastor. He did a lot of evangelism, so he would travel to preach and all that. Came back, found out that I didn't graduate because he asked for my certificate. I couldn't show him anything. He was so disappointed. Took me back to the school, told them, explained to them all that had happened, and enrolled me again. So I was there, and in order to make it seem like punishment, he had the school give me extra work for me to work for the school, but not get paid.
Paid for it.
Yeah. So the school would give me work and I would do it. And I was good at it because I was teaching to some of the people in class. I wasn't making anything. And then when I got to my graduation, I told my dad, he didn't show up. And he said, because already in my mind, I didn't want him to be at a graduation. This is why I dropped out. So me graduating now doesn't make any difference to him. So I can go for my graduation. So he didn't show up to the graduation. My mom wasn't around, so she couldn't. But then after that, it's like me repeating it again. I guess this would have been my call not to make that mistake since my dad didn't like it. But I felt that he's lived his life. And one thing I realized is that he had a lot of certificates, like a lot. He's achieved, when it comes to certificate, my dad has like, but he died, he left it, and on his final day, not once did he say, grab me my certificate, go get me this thing I have achieved. He said, take care of the family. That's all that mattered to him, family, the one thing that's right in front of him. So I felt he's lived his life. The one thing that mattered to him was his family. I had to figure out mine.
Okay.
And as much as he would have loved for me to finish and graduate and be a computer scientist, I felt I'm now on a path where I need to figure myself out. And since I'm not here for a long time, I don't know when, how it will happen. I need to figure out my own too.
Okay, so 2016, you've got the camera. Your mom is crying, you still in the badge, you didn't sell it, you drop out of school. What gave you, I mean, something must have happened to encourage you to keep going, because you said you didn't have the skill sets, you weren't getting people to photograph, but I'm sure something must have happened to encourage you. You know, there's this thing called what's it called? The beginner's luck. Something must happen to tell you that, hey, there is light here at the end of this tunnel.
I think, well, I'll get back there, but I think first of all, the whole feeling of just being able to freeze a moment just felt magical for me. I've been doing it with the camera, but the camera is with a phone. But the phone on iPad is actually, there's that magical feeling to it compared to a camera. It's not the same, right? It feels almost like the phone is doing it for you. But with the camera, it felt more intentional. And that whole feeling of being able to freeze something felt real. And it gave me meaning. I felt like if my dad is not there to find answers, this is giving me not complete answers, but it's giving me something. and I liked it. So I stayed there because it was giving me some comfort. But then this is something I always say to myself not to ever leave out, is the fact that I don't know how, I can't explain it, but I feel God was always in the detail, guiding me. There's always that tiny voice, say, do this, don't do this. And I always dreamed a lot. And when I dreamed, my dad taught me to write my dreams down. So sometimes I would have events where I would dream and it would kind of like happen, or I would feel like I've been here before, stuff like that. But I was always making sure that I followed that very tiny voice that comes when there's so much distraction that you can easily go on the wrong path. But it cost a lot. It cost me a lot. I think at that time I didn't have a place to stay. I was jumping from one place to another. I was getting kicked out from places.
You couldn't go home?
Home at this
Your
point
mom?
would be in Nigeria, and I didn't want to go to Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Your mom moved back
She
to
went
Nigeria
back to Nigeria
with your
because-
siblings.
Yeah, except Daniel. Daniel is the one after me.
So Daniel became your responsibility.
Yes, somehow. But we couldn't stay together because the friend could only take one person. So I stayed with a friend, he stayed with his friend. And then we just kind of like took it from there.
Was he going to school?
Yeah, Central University. So it became easier when he got into Central University because there's a hostel there. So he was going to Central University.
So I'm sure you were taking care of him.
I was to some point, and then there were like family friends who would like help with his fees and hostel. So we just had to kind of like find from one person and the other, and then do all that.
So from 2016 to 2019, right? I know 2019 is when you got the defined Agora Prize for photography with what's it called?
With
Songs
Agora.
of Freedom.
Yeah, Songs of Freedom.
Yeah. But before we come to that defining moment of your life that essentially changed the trajectory of this journey you were on, like I asked before, you didn't have a portfolio, like you said. Were you shooting events where people, or were you intentionally just creating a portfolio? What were you doing? Outside, I'm just trying to find out, outside the expression this thing gave you, or the avenue to deal with your grief, right? What was happening outside that circle?
I was experimenting.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out what speaks to me the most. My journey started because I needed to find meaning, not because I want money. The money is important because without it, I wouldn't have survived. If I said I didn't need money, I would be lying. But then the one thing I needed was to find meaning, because after I lost my dad, I was lost. And this put me on a path to kind of like experiment with different forms of photography. So I did some funeral photography, which was actually quite painful. I couldn't even take money from the people because I felt it was weird taking money from grieving people. So I stopped shooting, and it had a lot of trauma, especially with my dad passing. So I didn't venture into that. I did wedding, and I did that for free for a couple that used to, like, he sold provisions right in front of where I was staying, and he always saw me with a camera. So he asked me if I could come photograph his wedding, and I was like, yeah, sure. So I went. It was actually quite interesting, but I didn't find meaning there. I did some stuff in fashion, and I was there for a while. I started working for this fashion brand called Origin Culture. They make these African shaped bags. So if you go down to my old works, you would see some pictures with some bags in there. I wouldn't really say I found meaning there, but it brought something in terms of like being able to support myself and my brothers, because they were paying me and I would send a little and all that. But then I started feeling lost there because I wasn't getting meaning, I was getting money. But then it didn't feel complete. I felt like there was no balance. So I left in 2019, January. And this is where I actually decided to put my head down and focus on what I actually really want.
By the time, so January 2019, did you know what you wanted?
No.
You still didn't know that yet.
No.
And so you went on another,
Which was the last one.
what did you say?
Experiment.
Okay.
Another journey. And this time, I just went out and photographed people. Like, go to Labadi, sit at the beach, and seeing these guys dancing with fire. And I'm like, I think to myself, maybe this is how he prefers to express himself, right? They're not the richest people. They don't look like top Ghanaian. I don't know if you get,
understand.
right? But when you see him dance with fire, he looks powerful, right? He puts it in his mouth and does all of that. He's obviously going, I can see that he's going through something, but in that brief moment of actually being himself, he feels like he's found something and he loves doing it. And I wasn't photographing at first. I would always go there and he was always there. He showed up for himself and he would always do this. And he was not always getting people to give him money, but caught people's attention, right? And there would be one or two people who would come and put money in the hats. So the first picture I shot with him wasn't with him actually performing with fire, but with him and his hat, which he used to collect money, right? And I was always thinking what that hat meant to him. And what's beyond putting money into that hat, what would he think to himself when he grabs that hat and he walks out from the house? Would he think, I want this hat to be filled with money by the time I'm back? Or maybe it doesn't matter if it's empty. Let me just take the hat, and when I get there, I do some fire dancing, and whatever that hat is in that hat, I'll be satisfied with. That was very interesting. That made me feel something, right? It doesn't really matter what it is. Just stand up, pick your hat, and go out there. And for me, my hat was my camera. So I go out there, take pictures, come back, look at what I have in my hat, which are my pictures, which are photographed, and see if it has meaning or not. So I was always going out, and I found meaning. It started making sense to me. It wasn't giving me the most income. 2019 was actually my most difficult year, because then I wasn't making any stream of income anymore. But one thing I had was I had freedom. I was going out, taking pictures, and I was able to think. My imagination and my vision were vivid. And this is how I actually got Songs of Freedom, because I was lying down in a friend's place and he happened to have the radio on at that point, and Redemption Song by Bob Marley came on, and I was listening to it, and there was a part that stood out to me where he said, none but ourselves can free our mind. So it's up to us to free ourselves from whatever has held us captive. And for a moment I was crying, because that I felt like something has held me captive and I needed to free myself. And when I closed my eyes, saw myself playing the guitar and people sitting behind me, my guitar, and people sitting behind me listening to me play. And this is what gave me the vision for Songs of Freedom. So instead of replicating it the way I saw it, I decided to do it with the violin, because the violin, some way, somehow has a way to express itself, even if it's not a video. If you see someone play a violin in a picture, you can almost hear the sound of it, how it sounds like. And I think the violin is also an instrument of the soul. When you see them play and they close their eyes and they move their heads, you feel something. It's more expressive than the guitar. So I reached out to a violinist, a friend, and we went to Labadi, curated the kids. We taught them how to play, because I didn't want them to pose with it. they should have basic knowledge on how to play the violin. And after we did that for the full day, the next day we went back and we had this set of people and we created Songs of Freedom. But Songs of Freedom, the one that won the award, wasn't actually the main picture I was actually creating. What I was creating was titled Feel the Music. Because I was listening to Redemption Song by Bob Marley and I felt the music. So Feel the Music is another image with a kid playing the violin, but it has these hands wrapped around him. I posted that before Songs of Freedom. And Songs of Freedom came after. So in 2019, I think January, February there, after creating this, I happened to come across Agora Award. They put this thing out. They said submit your picture and win this amount, blah, blah, blah. This was in January. So I put it in there. And because of how long it is, the contest is open for, I actually forgot that I placed something in there because the year was like too difficult. I was trying my best to get out of certain situations, to figure certain things out. And in October, I received this email saying that I'd reached top 50. My picture has been selected as top 50 out of 130,000 submissions from 100 and something countries. And that was mind-blowing. I was like, wait, what? I've forgotten that I put this in. And the requirement was they needed videos of how the photograph was created, what inspired you, and all that stuff. And around that period, I was fortunate to be on a project for Bob Marley's granddaughter, Donisha Pendergrast. And after she finished doing her film, which she titled Sankofa, I told her about like being in top 50 and what inspired me and all that. And she assisted me to create a short film on how I created the image. So we went to Labadi together, we spoke to the community, we came together, we recreated the whole event, and we submitted the video. And from top 50, went to top 3. And from top 3, I went to top 1. And when they told me, it was crazy. For the first time, I think aside the pain and other emotions that I felt, I finally knew what it felt like to win. And that was my big change, and everything just changed. Yeah.
We're going to come back to everything just changed. Everything just, let me note it down.
Okay.
We're going to explore how everything changed. What became of it? Because I realized, I gathered you lost your mom too.
Yeah.
And so we will explore how had this happened in 2019?
So 2019, this whole thing was happening in between November to December. So I got flown to Spain, so that and that whole experience flying to Spain was crazy because my passport got seized because it was expired. I had to renew it in order to take it to the embassy. It got seized because the immigration said I'm not Ghanaian. And I said I'm Ghanaian. It was back and forth. And after I got seized and I was able to prove that I'm Ghanaian, they had to give me my passport. They couldn't find it. And it was a whole lot. They had to do a new one for me. And then after doing that, I took it to the embassy. They needed a bank statement. I had the worst bank statement. I had to email Agora in Spain explaining to them that I didn't have a good bank statement and it would be difficult for me to do that. And normally people would do, there were certain things like people would create a bank statement or whatever, but I didn't have an idea how to do that. So I sent them an email telling them I don't have a bank statement. And they had their lawyers write to the embassy and explain to them that they would take care of everything. So the embassy agreed, and I sent my details and whatever they required from me. And I just had to wait. And everybody in Barcelona had to wait too because they really wanted me to be there so they can present the award. So I think I was there one day. I woke up. The embassy reached out to me. They said, "Come for your passport." They didn't tell me if I had gotten it. So I got there, and they gave me the visa, and then immediately I came out. I was very happy. I called my mom. I told her. She was happy. She started crying, and she was thanking God. And then I called Spain, the people in Spain. I told them about it, and everybody started. I could hear people like celebrating in the background because they were all happy that I'd gotten it. And right there, they bought my ticket for the flight that same day and told me to go home and pack whatever I can and join the last flight that evening. So I remember very well. I called Vanessa, told her about it, and I don't know if she had to stop whatever she was doing to come help me pack. And then I was in a trotro. And you know when you have this uncontrollable feeling and you can't control the tears, but you're crying. I was in trotro crying. And everyone in the church was like, "What's going on? Maybe they've broken my heart or something." I was crying in the church. They didn't understand. The mate was like, "Boss, you pay this amount," and I'm crying, reaching for my pocket.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm crying, reaching for my pocket, and I give him the money. Nobody's understanding what's going on. But this is basically tears of joy, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's like I finally like figured something out. And it's what? Between the span of 2016, 17, 18, 19, 4 years, I figured something out. Like, it's been crazy. And I still couldn't believe it. Like, I did not plan any of that. Like, that wasn't in my head at all. All I just wanted to do is take pictures and do what I can and figure something out. And I got home, I packed, and before I realized I'm at the airport, and before I realized I'm on the flight, and before I realized I'm in Barcelona. And yeah. And then I'm standing in an audience and everybody's white, not one single person of color. I'm nervous. I've never been on a stage like this before. What do I say? How do I go about it? It was streamed live and I could see my mom typing in there. And this gave me a little bit of confidence knowing that she's watching. So I stood there and spoke. And if you go, you still see her comments on the video on YouTube. She commented. This was in November, in around that period. So after the whole thing, Agora treated me well. I didn't feel like I was in a strange place at all. They asked me questions, I answered. There was an exhibition, and I actually found it funny because people were asking me to sign. Like, people would come with small images. They'll ask me to sign it, and I'm like, I've not really done anything. Why are you guys having me sign stuff? But people were just amazed by the picture. And aside from the award, I think it actually really stood out in Brazil as well. And as we speak, I have more Brazilian people knowing me than Ghanaians. And I don't know how, because I've never been to Brazil. And they really like the whole idea of how I represent like our people, how I represent the continent. And I came back. My mom came from Nigeria, and it was like double celebration around that period because my brother was also graduating from Central University, and I also won this award. So she was very happy, and no one actually saw any of it. Like, she was healthy, she was fit, because she even came by road. Like, if someone is not healthy, they wouldn't go.
Yeah.
She came by road, and in December, around that period was also like the year of return, so there were a lot of people. So I was working, following this group around Cape Coast and all that. And my brother went to Nigeria with my mom, and he was there. And one morning, he just called me and said, "Michael, please pray, because mommy is not responding." And I'm like, "What? What? How?" And I, like, that moment, I couldn't think. I dropped my camera, and I sat down to say a quick prayer. And then the next moment, they call me and they tell me that she's dead. Why? What happened? She had a stroke. And I'm like, if my dad's passing gave me meaning, my mom's passing broke me, because I couldn't shoot for a while. I was that her own. I was confused, because I'm like, what's the point? One moment, life is hard. You figure something out, and you tell yourself, now we are doing it. Now we are going for it. And life is like, hold my cup,
Hold my beer.
hold my beer. And then my mom goes, and I'm like, what's the whole point of life? Like, make it make sense, right? Because the brief moment I felt that I'd found something, the pain just comes right back. It didn't make any sense to me. But yet still, I always pray, still believe in God. I don't understand the pain or why it is, but it all came back to the point where I felt that pain is necessary. This is why I said what I said, because it has a way of shaping you. I've won so many. I've won 7 awards as I speak, but all those didn't do anything for me. It's just a brief moment of happiness and people saying congratulations, blah blah blah. And then after that, then you ask yourself what's next, because it's a good feeling. It feels like a drug where you constantly want to win because you like the feeling. But then nobody wants to go through pain. Pain, you don't want to constantly go through it. But when you go through it, it makes you somehow a better person. It puts you in a better position to grow and to be ready for the next challenge or whatever comes next.
Yeah.
And even if a challenge doesn't come next and it's just good times, it puts you in a position where you can handle a good time and treat people around you well.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Your dad dies. You go through a 3-year wilderness, figure things out, goes bust, so to speak. You lose your mom. Like you said, your dad's demise gave you meaning. Your mom's demise broke you. But when we cast our eyes into, this is 2019, we go back into the future, you are going to become an Adobe Lightroom photographer. Some of that globally, when we open Adobe Lightroom, we see your pictures.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to walk me through that wilderness phase. When did the Lightroom event happen?
It happened in 2020. It started in 2020. Actually.
2020.
Yeah.
So a 1-year period. That 1 year, you're broken. You weren't shooting. What did you do?
And COVID happened. COVID happened too. That same year.
God really had beef with you.
Yeah. COVID happened. We had to sit at one place for a while, and nothing was happening. And I think that one thing that helped is that my mom did send me a voice note while I was around shooting with a group, because I think she called me and I didn't pick. Right? That's what makes it even worse, because I was busy. She called me and I didn't pick, and she left me a voice note. So now when I see people receiving calls from like parents and all that, I'm like, you have no idea how lucky you are, because there's a point where you won't see any call anymore. Like, it will just go silent. You won't get a call and it'll be dad or mom, right? So if you're getting it, you might as well just be thankful for that. But she left me a voice note. I read it. I listened to it. And part of it was like, I know you're busy. I didn't want to disturb you. I just wanted to check up on you. keep focusing on what you're doing and make sure you do your best.
Do you still have it
Yeah.
on the phone now?
Yeah, I think so. I should still have it.
Can we play it?
Let's see. Let me try and see. Hopefully it plays, sometimes.
Yeah.
But I saved it. I saved it on yeah. Please access. I saved it, but it's right here. 27 seconds.
Just download it again.
Yeah, it says can't download. Please ask that it is recent.
Okay. But do you save it somewhere in a file?
Yeah, I saved it on Google Drive. I saved hers and my dad's last recording on Google Drive. And this was 27th of December 2019. And on the 1st of January was my last message to her. And I said, Happy New Year, Mommy. More blessings this year. And she never responded because she had passed away.
He didn't know.
So this blue tick that you're seeing is me actually going to Nigeria, picking her phone and reading my own message on her phone. And I'm thinking to myself, how did this even happen? And that's why we have the blue tick, because I read the message.
Yeah.
So after listening to this, it gave me that little spark. So I didn't grab my camera. I grabbed my laptop and started editing pictures that I had shot and I didn't edit.
Okay.
So I was editing, and Sonny was doing this thing. Sonny Alpha was doing this thing for photographers because people have not shot for a while. So in order to get people active, they said, show us a picture you shot by water and win a contest or something like this. So the Be Alpha stuff started, and when they got to Be Water, I submitted a photograph for Be Water and I won. But what happened is that Adobe's product manager was also on the same contest, and she saw my photograph and she reached out to me like, yo, I really like this picture. We are currently working on a project to create educational content. She's seen the rest of my works. She really likes it. Would you be available to jump on it? And when I saw it, I thought it was like a scam. And the amounts they were paying, I thought it was a scam. So I had to Google who sent me the picture and realized she's a big person in Adobe. And then I responded to the email saying that I'm available to work on it. And she requested for a Zoom. And I said, sure, no problem. And we had the Zoom meeting. And it's a real person. And it's a real opportunity. And I didn't have to shoot. All I just had to do was explain how I edit my pictures. And they were creating educational content, which was going to be translated to different languages on Lightroom. So people can, whilst at home, they can learn how to edit and all that. So I sat home. I worked. I had nothing doing. And I did it to the best of my abilities. And they really liked it. And they really liked how I approached it. And this is how I started working with Adobe. And the next year, I became an ambassador. And in following years, I became a splash screen artist. And Adobe flew to Ghana to film me for Adobe Max. So they did a short film where they followed my process, how I did all my stuff. And yeah, this is how it started. And went to Dubai to speak at Dubai Expo. Got an invitation from the Prince in Sharjah. He has passion for photography.
Okay. How did he find you? The Adobe project?
No. Which is actually quite interesting. I was in Dubai and someone approached me and I spoke to him calmly. This is why they always say you have to be, I wouldn't really say down to earth, because you don't know who you are talking to. So I was speaking to someone And he asked me questions, I responded, and we just talked like normal people. And I think what helps me to be in that level is because I photograph people who are, I don't want to use the word, but I would say real people, right? They exhibit real emotions and all that. In order to be able to photograph that, you have to come down to a certain level. So I spoke to him normally and all that stuff. And he happens to be friends with the prince, or he knows the prince. I had no idea. And he sent my details and my Instagram to him. And this is how he saw me and sent me an invite. And in this invite, I got to meet the most amazing photographers I never knew are still alive. Like Neil Lifer, he shot the photograph of Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali was over Sunday listing.
Yeah.
And I met Steve McCurry. He shot the Afghan girl. These people have been shooting before they gave birth to me. And it was actually quite amazing to meet these people and to exhibit alongside them. So, yeah.
Interesting. When you said everything changed after the, what's it called, the Agora event, I thought it was just, I mean, clearly there was that, but then you lost your mother after that, and that's changed the trajectory as well. Okay. So what? So this 2020 and 2025, what have you been up to for the last 5 years?
Still working. Now, a lot has happened when it comes to AI. When I started back then, there was nothing like AI and all that, but now AI has been introduced. And then there's been a lot of conversations about whether you're worried that AI will replace you and all that stuff. And I don't think that's the case. I've always said that I really don't see how that would work. People have created like very good images with AI, but people miss the point. It's not about creating the image, it's about the story, the human side of it. And if you don't go out there to know what it feels like, from holding the camera, knowing the technical aspects, speaking to someone, knowing their story, knowing someone, and actually capturing the image, it's not the same thing. It's the process, not the final result, but the journey you find yourself on. And I don't see how AI is doing that. I've been on projects where we train AI on editing pictures and assisting people on how to make things faster and stuff like that. But so far so good. It's still basically me on the same journey, trying to understand. I've gotten certain answers, but I'm still not there. I'm still learning, still trying to figure out certain things. And we just pick it up from there.
Yeah.
But I always come back to the fact that I was speaking to someone actually at a washing bay yesterday. And he doesn't know me. I went to wash my car because I came from Keita. It was so dirty. I had to pick someone at the airport. I didn't want to take it like that. And he said, "Is that your car?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he started laughing. And he asked me, "What work do you do to be able to buy that?" And I said, "I'm a photographer." And he's like, "What type of photography are you doing?" Right? And I said, and I started showing him my works. And he said that I'm the first person that has actually showed him something that has inspired him. Because normally, someone my age, it's either they're into something sketchy and what. Because I did mention that aside from me buying this, I explained to him that I didn't just wake up and bought it. I went through a whole lot before buying it. But then I didn't pay outright. I paid in bits because the person I was with trusted me. And when I paid, he didn't give me the papers right away. It was when I finished, and then he handed me the papers before I started doing things with the car and feeling comfortable. But then I did mention that aside from me doing all this, God had also played a role guiding me. And he said that normally when you ask people and they say, oh, God did it for me, blah, blah, he doesn't necessarily like that response because he's gone through a lot. And when he asks someone how you do it and they mention God, he's confused because he prays all the time and he does all this, but he doesn't get the same results. And I said I agree with you because I've noticed stuff like that. I've experienced it as well. But everyone has his own journey. And if you put in some type of effort and you pray, God always finds a way. Like he'll find a way for you.
Yeah.
But you have to go through struggle to get there. If you don't go through it, like sometimes people expect that when they pray, God will just open or throw the food from heaven or do something magical. It's possible. He can do it. But I sit back and I ask myself, if he does it that way, what do you actually learn? You don't learn anything. And it's been like stories like this is in the Bible several times where he's just done it for people and there's no appreciation. And people just go back to doing things the way he doesn't want it because they didn't struggle to get it. So I always try to make sure that I don't leave out the parts where that, yes, I've gone through all this.
Like credit to be given to God.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very important.
Because I'm going to ask you that, you mentioned that your dad was an evangelist. He committed his life to the ministry, so to speak. And then, he passed the way he did. And it's just making me, I was asking myself, what's the toll of something like this on you, on your faith, whether you keep trusting God but it's good to know that you actually still have.
There's been very interesting stories and mostly comes from like people with the same faith, Christians. My dad passed away, but there are people who are like, who would say stuff like he wasn't a real man of God. A real man of God wouldn't have passed away from illness and all that stuff. But they forget that, yes, a man of God, but the first word there is man. He's human. And if it's your time, it's your time. It has nothing to do with any of that. But as I said before, I don't know why it happened, but it's already happened. Only God understands it.
Yeah.
But it still wouldn't take. It would be very hard for someone to tell me that God doesn't exist, or whatever it is, or try to tell me otherwise.
What does the number 8 mean to you?
I was talking about dreams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The day my dad passed, in my dream, I don't really say this because sometimes it comes off as weird. But in my dream, on that day, I just saw number 8. And then there was a nurse. And the nurse said, come back on the 8th day. I didn't really take its importance or serious because at that point, what am I doing with number 8? Like, my dad just passed. Now I need to figure my life out. I kind of like just forgot about it. But then I just realized that every single event happening in my life was always reminding me of the number. So I'll go somewhere, I'll see number 8. If I'm at the airport, I'm passing by booth number 8. If I'm it was just too frequent. I didn't know why. And my name was not Aboya.8 at first. It was Fade to Black. And in the process of searching and trying to understand, I decided to try to find out what the meaning of my name Aboya means. So I went to the north, asked questions. They told me that it means that I have asked God and God has given. And I wanted to know what that meant to my dad. What did he ask God and what did God give? Right? Is it family, or what exactly would that mean? Or is this an individual meaning for you on what you ask God for? Yeah. Aside from that, I went out and I would ask questions on Google, like type my name in there and see if it will give me any answer. And one stood out to me. And Google, it says in numerology Aboya means 8. And when I saw that, like, there was goosebumps all over. And then I needed to figure out more. So I started to dive more into it. And there are so many meanings. Like, it means new beginning. It means rebirth. And there's, like, other meanings in the Bible. Like, how when God destroyed the earth at first with water, it was just 8 people left on earth. And a whole lot, like, I wrote them down somewhere. And it made sense to me. So immediately I rebranded from Fade to Black and I did Aboya.8. And I just kind of like try to make things exciting. That gives me meaning and purpose. But the whole idea of the 8 started from a dream on the day I lost my dad.
Oh, that's quite profound. Until the last time in our conversation that morning, we were talking, you're reflecting on the story. You're recounting the story. You had this encounter doing work for the World Bank or something like that. So I take it that now you essentially just do these projects for institutions as a photographer.
Yeah.
Is there a certain focus for your work now? I mean, now I know you're still on the journey exploring, finding meaning, and then making money doing that. But is there central for this phase you're in now? What's the focus?
The focus is just to keep going, shoot, right? Sometimes people ask these questions and nobody really actually has anything figured out. You really don't know. You can have a vision and a plan. I don't know, maybe for everyone here, it's worked out for them. But for me, the way I envisioned my life 10 years back is not what I'm currently living. And I try my best to always have a plan. But my life journey and my path, what has really stood out for me is the whole saying that no one knows tomorrow, right? Never knew my dad would pass. I never knew my mom would pass. Never knew certain things, but I was always ready for it. And what prepared me was pain. And then I grew, I prepared, and I was ready when it came. So I guess I have plans. I want to have my own gallery. How that's going to happen, I don't know. I want to make sure that there's a whole community of photographers that can properly tell our stories and change certain narratives. How that's going to happen, I don't know, but I'm preparing myself gradually for it.
Yeah.
I still keep my head high and focus on the whole point of why I actually started. But in the course of doing that, I've been able to gather other skills, like being able to understand people and tell their story right. So when organizations like the World Bank, Plan International, or all these organizations reach out with their vision, I can understand and know how to better tell that story. But then also remind myself that you shouldn't get off the path. So when you do this stuff, remember to go back and continue doing what you are meant to do, which is why I started in the main place.
You said something about 10 years back, the life you envisioned 10 years ago and the life you're living now. If you could enter a time travel machine and go back 10 years, what would you tell that young man? 10 years younger you.
I'll tell myself to keep dreaming, like dream. I daydream a lot. I can be sitting down and I'll black out. My eyes open, but I'm somewhere else, trying to envision what if it would look like tomorrow, right? And I think that is the best gift I've ever had. Like, just dream, have a vision. You don't know what it will look like, but just think about, imagine something, and move towards that. And it's that whole idea of moving is what gets you to somewhere. Maybe you didn't think about it, but it will be something good that you will be happy about. Yeah.
The same question. If your 10-year, that the you from 2015,
Mhm.
enters this room and sees you, what do you think he would say?
Happy. He will be happy. Um, he'll be happy, but I don't know exactly what he will say after he realizes that he had to go through all this to get here. I don't know if he will ask himself if it was necessary. Because I've always said, if right now they were to present my parents back to me and say, this is your mom, this is your dad, and this is your life now, choose. Always I'll choose my parents. Because this I didn't ask for. It's a reality I find myself in. Am I happy with it? Yes. But I always choose my family over it. But in life, you don't get to choose necessarily. You get to choose in certain aspects, but not all of it.
Let's project that question into the future.
Mhm.
Walking into a room 2035, December 2035,
Okay.
right? Let's assume you're all alive.
Time travelers.
And you see 10 years older Aboya from today.
Mhm.
What do you hope to get to see?
I hope to get to see someone that has stayed true to himself, has inspired people. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, his kids will be happy with him. They say, I'm proud that that's my dad, kind of thing. But also, make certain differences that wouldn't have necessarily happened if I didn't go on this journey. And it should be beyond photography. Like people who have passion in music or whatever they have passion for would actually go for that. Because as I always say, we live in a world that is constantly trying to make you someone else, constantly trying to make you be someone else. And being yourself is a treasure, something that you should hold close and dear to you. Yeah.
The life I have now, giving my parents, I'll choose my parents.
Yeah.
This is a statement. I'll always choose my family over all of those things. Now you have family, you have siblings. I'm sure you're the oldest, right?
Yeah.
How many siblings? Yeah.
3 behind me. So we
3.
are 4 in total.
So, what's the relationship there like?
Oh, it's good. It's fine. There are certain situations where it would happen.
Are you the father figure now?
Yeah. But then sometimes some things happen and you're like, how would my dad necessarily go about this, right? Like, there's certain moments of happiness, there's certain moments of anger. Like, they do certain things, it's pissing you off. But would you react based on anger or would you calm down? And like I learned to do these things at earlier stages so that it doesn't cause like separation. People go separate ways. Because at this point, we don't need to go separate ways. We need to be together.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of it is with me. Because if I do or make certain mistakes, it might cause division. So
Yeah.
I try my best to find balance in every single thing.
I'm just curious, how is Daniel doing?
He's fine.
Is he still in Ghana?
Yeah, he's in Ghana.
Okay. Do you feel, given all that you've gone through, that your childhood was taken from you? You didn't have the chance to be a child. Okay, young boy.
Yeah, true. I feel that way. But then I cherish the little one I've had. I had a childhood, and most of it was in Nigeria. In Ghana, I had to grow up really fast because everything kept coming at me fast. But yes, I agree with your statement.
See, and so now the question I want to ask is, when you're not busy finding meaning through the lenses and like taking pictures or thinking, about life and doing projects and traveling, because you're a hard man to reach. You're a hard man to reach. And so what do you do? You mentioned that there are times where, like, even you don't pick up your camera, you have like nightmares. And that periods when you are working too much there's some indicators that make you feel like you have to take care of yourself. I'm curious as to know, outside the domain of, meaning and money, or through photography. What do you do? Like, what do you do as a person?
I write my emotions. I'm very observant. Sometimes awkwardly quiet. I'm a socially awkward person because of the way my life has been. So you won't find me in certain places. If you find me in those places, I'll be the odd one out. People are dancing and all that, but you would see one person just sitting down there. That's me. Because I can't blend in well or all that stuff. But most of the time, reflect, move, go somewhere, sit down, and just observe, because I've come to realize that some way, somehow, something is always trying to communicate. You just have to find it. So I if it's not my photography, it's not my family, I think it's a good question, because then what do I actually do for myself? Movies, relax, close my eyes for a moment. And just, I like to drive too. So sit in my car, drive, or just go online, look at people fixing cars. There's one very weird habit I developed. I started working on my car myself because the mechanics give you too much headache. So I learned to change my own oil myself. So I would go under my car, drain my oil, successfully do it. Started changing my brake pads myself. Started doing all those things just to kind of like keep myself busy.
Oh, okay.
Aside from the fact that my parents are no longer here, I realized that I got myself a lot of freedom. And freedom can be dangerous sometimes. So I try to fill the gaps and figure something out for myself.
One word to sum up how you think your life has been now to this point. What would you say?
To sum up my life?
To this point, one word. If one word comes to mind. Don't say 8.
Adventurous.
Adventurous.
Yeah. You don't know. Like, you just don't you don't know. As I sit down right now, I don't know what tomorrow is. I just hope that it's not something bad. This is all I keep saying. Please don't. If anything bad will happen, it's not a good thing to say, but I always say, let it happen to me. I don't want to experience another. I don't know if you get
I get you.
That's why I was talking about the childbirth situation.
Yes.
When the lady was giving birth and then the child came and she wasn't moving. I feel like it would have done something to me again if I had witnessed that. And I didn't want it to happen. So when I stepped out with my camera, I put it down. My hand was shaking. Because experiencing another loss, even if it wasn't me, would have done something to me again. And I'm glad it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been on a whole different level of retreat. Yeah.
But yeah, your story is very inspiring. I just hope that you keep... I'm glad that you seem very grounded, despite all that life has thrown at you. That you're very much aware that there's a certain meaning to be pursued. And you've stayed on this course, and then life has unveiled itself to you with treasures and with poison at the same time. But I really hope that when all is said and done, I mean, you said that 8 means a lot to you, Aboya means rebirth, and like you constantly reinvent yourself and go through a period of like aciditis, you know, to become better and then be a butterfly that will bloom.
Yeah.
And like your siblings and like this continent will celebrate you. So thanks for what you do.
Thank you too.
And thanks for coming.
Thank you for having
I know
me.
you don't do podcasts and things, but thanks for this exclusive.
I do sometimes. But I think this will be the first in Ghana, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah.
I thank you.
I really appreciate it. You're doing a great job too.
Thank you.
We need platforms like this so people can share their story and inspire others. I listen to podcasts a lot when I drive my long drives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
hopefully we are a constant voice in your ears.
it actually started when after
Sippering. Oh, okay.
Yeah, after Cyprian it started.
Okay.
I started paying more attention and all that. But yeah, I can't wait to see how this one
goes out.
Yeah.
Thank you. So community, Amateur always remains. Just build something.